Fleet Commander Vextar stood tall on the bridge of his flagship, watching the stars through the crystal viewing dome. His blue-scaled skin caught the light from the ship's control panels as he studied the star charts floating before him. The Zephyrian Confederation had ruled this part of space for 300 years, and today would mark another easy victory. 12 ships moved through space in perfect formation. Each vessel looked like a work of art, with smooth crystal hulls that bent light around them. Their energy shields glowed softly blue, and their plasma weapons hummed with contained power. No enemy had ever stood against them for long. "Commander," called Intelligence Officer Quindle from his station. His voice carried the calm confidence that came from centuries of easy wins. "We are approaching the target system. Long-range sensors show a yellow star with 9 planets. The third planet has signs of intelligent life." Vextar moved closer to examine the data. The information scrolled across holographic displays in the alien script of his people. "What level of development are we looking at?" "Primitive, sir. They have basic radio signals and simple satellites. Their technology appears to be maybe 200 years behind ours. Standard integration protocols should apply." The commander nodded. This was how it always went. The Confederation would enter a system, announce their presence, and demand surrender. Most species took one look at their advanced ships and gave up without a fight. Those who resisted rarely lasted more than a few hours. "Any signs of military capability?" Vextar asked, though he already knew the answer. "Minimal, sir. We detect some orbital structures that might be defensive platforms, but nothing that could threaten our shields. Their largest vessels appear to be cargo haulers and simple exploration craft." Around the bridge, other crew members went about their duties with practiced ease. Navigation Officer Keltho plotted their approach vector while Communication Specialist Zardan prepared the standard surrender demand. Everything followed the same pattern they had used on dozens of worlds. The Confederation's method was simple and effective. They would position their fleet in orbit around the target world, broadcast their demands, and wait. Most civilizations recognized the hopelessness of their situation and agreed to join the Confederation peacefully. Those who fought back were quickly crushed and then absorbed anyway. "Time to weapons range?" Vextar asked. "Approximately 6 hours at current speed, Commander." Vextar walked to the rear of the bridge where tactical displays showed the full fleet formation. His ships moved like dancers through space, each one maintaining perfect distance from the others. The Confederation prided itself on efficiency and elegance in all things, including warfare. "Sir," Quindle called out, his voice carrying a hint of curiosity, "I'm detecting some unusual readings from the third planet's industrial centers." "Unusual how?" "Their metallurgy appears more advanced than expected. We're seeing titanium and steel alloys that suggest sophisticated manufacturing. Also, there's significant energy output from their orbital facilities." Vextar frowned. This was not typical for a primitive species. Usually, planets at this development level focused on basic infrastructure and simple space exploration. Heavy industrial activity suggested they might be more advanced than initial scans indicated. "Are they building warships?" "Difficult to determine at this range, sir. But the energy signatures are consistent with major construction projects." The commander considered this information. Even if the primitives were building military vessels, their technology was still centuries behind Confederation standards. Their crude chemical rockets and basic nuclear power could never match the elegant fusion drives and quantum energy systems of his fleet. "Maintain current course and formation. Prepare standard first contact protocols." As the hours passed, more information came in from the scanning arrays. The third planet, which their databases now identified as Earth, showed signs of a surprisingly unified civilization. Most worlds at this development stage were divided into competing nation-states, making conquest easier through divide and conquer. "Tactics, Commander," reported Zodin from communications. "We're intercepting more of their radio transmissions. Their language systems are complex, but our translation computers are making progress." "What are they saying?" "Mostly routine civilian traffic, sir. But we're also detecting what appear to be military communications. They seem to be coordinating some kind of response to our approach. This was also unusual. Most primitive species didn't detect approaching Confederation fleets until they were already in orbit. These humans appeared to have more sophisticated sensor networks than expected." "Sir," Quindle called out with growing concern in his voice, "long-range scans are showing something unexpected in the outer system." "Vextar moved to the intelligence station. Report. There's a large metallic signature approximately 12 light minutes from the third planet. It's moving under power and appears to be waiting for us." The bridge fell silent. In 3 centuries of expansion, no primitive species had ever sent a single ship to meet a Confederation fleet. It was either incredibly brave or incredibly stupid. Size and configuration? Approximately 800 meters long, sir. Very dense construction. The hull appears to be some kind of layered armor system rather than energy shielding. It's crude looking, sir. Like something built for function rather than form. Vextar studied the tactical display showing the human vessel's position. It sat directly in their planned approach vector, impossible to ignore. Weapons signatures? Multiple. Launch systems of unknown design. No energy weapons detected, but significant electromagnetic activity suggests advanced targeting systems. The commander felt a slight unease, though he couldn't explain why. The Confederation had faced thousands of species over the centuries. None had ever posed a real threat to their superior technology and tactics. "Maintain course," he ordered. "One primitive ship cannot stop the Confederation fleet. We'll deal with it as we approach." But as they drew closer to the human vessel, something about its design bothered him. Where Confederation ships were built for beauty and efficiency, this human craft looked like it was built for war. Its angular hull bristled with weapon systems, and its massive engine suggested power levels that seemed excessive for a ship its size. "Sir," whispered Quindle, "what if they're not as primitive as we thought?" Admiral Kate Morris stood in the command center of the USS Liberty, her hands resting on the metal railing that surrounded the tactical display. The massive screen showed 12 alien ships moving toward Earth in perfect formation. Their elegant crystal hulls caught the light from nearby stars, making them look more like art pieces than warships. She had been preparing for this moment for 15 years. Ever since Earth's deep space listening posts first detected alien radio signals, humanity had known this day would come. The messages they intercepted told a clear story. The galaxy was full of species that conquered others, and Earth was next on their list. "Admiral," called Captain Rick Barnes from his position at the main command station. "Alien fleet is now 6 hours out from Earth orbit. They're maintaining their approach vector directly toward us." Kate nodded. The Liberty hung in space like a metal predator, waiting for the aliens to come within range. Unlike the pretty alien ships, her vessel looked like what it was, a weapon built by a species that had been fighting wars for thousands of years. "Status report on all systems," she ordered. Lieutenant Amy Price looked up from her console. "All weapon systems are green. Kinetic accelerators are loaded and ready. Nuclear torpedoes are armed. Point defense systems are online. Engineering. Report." Kate called toward the back of the bridge. Engineer Lisa Hunt's voice came through the communications system from deep inside the ship. "Fusion reactors are running at full capacity. Armor systems are charged. Inertial dampeners are holding steady. We're ready for whatever they throw at us." Kate walked over to the communications station where Commander Joe Taylor was monitoring. "Alien transmissions. Any word from our guests?" "They're still using their standard formation, Admiral." Our computers have been analyzing their movement patterns. They fight like they're dancing, everything neat and organized. Very different from our approach. The Liberty represented everything humanity had learned about war. Her hull was layers of titanium and steel, designed to absorb punishment and keep fighting. Where alien ships relied on energy shields, humans built thick armor that could stop anything. Where aliens used elegant plasma weapons, humans built guns that fired solid metal at incredible speeds. "Ma'am," Amy called out from her station, "I'm getting interesting data from our passive scanners. Those alien ships have very sophisticated energy shields, but their hulls look thin. They're built like racing cars, not tanks." Kate smiled grimly. "That tells us something about how they fight. They probably stand back and shoot energy beams at each other until someone's shields fail. Very civilized. Unlike us," Rick said with a grin. "Unlike us," Kate agreed. "We build our ships to get close and hurt people." The bridge crew worked with calm efficiency. Every person had trained for this moment for years. They knew their jobs and trusted each other completely. This was how human military forces worked, through teamwork and preparation. "Admiral," Lisa's voice came from engineering again. "I'm reading their energy signatures. Those ships are putting out a lot of power, but it's all going to shields and weapons. They don't seem to have much left over for acceleration or maneuvering." "Good intel. That means they're not built for dogfighting." Kate studied the tactical display showing both fleets. The aliens moved in perfect geometric patterns, their ships spaced evenly apart. It looked impressive, but she could see the weakness in their formation. They were built for long-range combat between stationary targets. The Liberty, on the other hand, was built for close combat. Her engines could push her to incredible speeds, and her armor could take hits that would destroy most ships. More importantly, her weapons were designed to punch through any defense. "Time to weapons range?" Kate asked. 45 minutes at current closure rate," Amy replied. "Signal Earth Command. Tell them we're about to make first contact with hostile aliens. If this goes bad, they need to know what we learned." Joe activated the long-range communications array. Message sent, Admiral. Earth acknowledges and wishes. U.S. luck. Kate looked around the bridge at her crew. These people represented the best of humanity, smart, brave, and completely dedicated to protecting their home world. They were about to face an enemy with technology centuries more advanced than their own, but they showed no fear. "Amy, I want you to run one more diagnostic on our main guns. Those kinetic accelerators need to work perfectly." "Already done, ma'am. We can put a tungsten rod through a battleship at half the speed of light." "Lisa, how are our nuclear torpedoes?" 24. "Birds ready to fly, Admiral. Each one packs enough punch to crack a moon." Kate nodded. Human weapons were crude compared to alien energy beams, but they had one advantage: they worked. Nuclear bombs didn't care about energy shields, and solid metal moving at incredible speeds could punch through anything. "Ma'am," Rick called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the alien fleet." "Put it on speakers." The bridge filled with an alien voice speaking in a language that sounded like musical notes. The translation computer worked for a few seconds before producing English words. "Primitive species of the third planet. You will surrender your system to the Zephyrian Confederation. Lower your defensive systems and prepare for integration into our empire. Resistance will result in your destruction." The bridge went quiet. Everyone looked at Kate, waiting for her response. She walked to the communication station and activated the transmitter. "This is Admiral Kate Morris of the United Earth Defense Force. You entered our system without permission and threatened our world. You have 30 seconds to turn around and leave, or we will consider your presence an act of war." The alien response came quickly. "Your primitive vessel cannot threaten the Confederation fleet. Surrender now or face the consequences. Kate looked at her crew and smiled. While they asked for it, all hands battle stations. Let's show these aliens what humans do to uninvited guests. Warning lights flashed throughout the ship as the Liberty prepared for combat. The first battle between humans and aliens was about to begin. Fleet Commander Vextar stared at the primitive human ship on his main display. The crude metal vessel hung in space like a dark threat, its angular hull bristling with weapons that looked nothing like the elegant energy systems his people used. When the human admiral's message finished playing, his bridge crew looked at him with confusion. "Sir," communications specialist Zardan said quietly, "they actually refused our surrender demand. In 300 years of expansion, this had never happened. Primitive species always gave up when they saw the Confederation fleet. Even advanced civilizations usually tried to negotiate rather than fight, but these humans seemed ready for war." "They cannot be serious," Vextar said, though something in the human admiral's voice made him uncomfortable. "One ship against 12? Their technology is centuries behind ours." Intelligence Officer Quindle was studying his sensors with growing concern. "Commander, that human vessel is beginning to accelerate. Its fusion drives are producing energy levels I've never seen before." On the main screen, the USS Liberty suddenly burst forward like a missile. Brilliant blue flames erupted from her massive engines as she closed the distance between the fleets. The acceleration was impossible. No organic crew should be able to survive those forces. "How fast are they moving?" Vextar demanded. "Sir, they're pulling nearly 50 gravities of acceleration. That should crush any living creature aboard." Vextar watched the human ship charge directly at his fleet. Either these humans were suicidal, or they had technology his people didn't understand. "All ships, defensive formation. Prepare to fire." "On my command." The Confederation vessels moved with practiced grace, their crystal hulls shifting into an elegant combat pattern. Energy shields flickered to life around each ship as plasma weapons began charging. They had used this formation to destroy countless enemies over the centuries, but the human ship didn't slow down or change course. It came straight at them like a metal comet, its weapons tracking multiple targets at once. Warning lights flashed across Vextar's bridge as his tactical systems tried to make sense of what they were seeing. "Sir," Quindle called out with panic. In his voice, "their weapon systems are unlike anything in our databases. Those aren't energy weapons. They appear to be kinetic accelerators of some kind." "Kinetic weapons? You mean they throw rocks at their enemies?" "Not rocks, sir. Metal projectiles accelerated to incredible speeds. And sir, they have nuclear weapons." The words sent a chill through the bridge. Nuclear weapons were considered barbaric by every civilized species. Only the most primitive and violent races still used such crude devices. What kind of people were these humans? Captain Rick Barnes watched the alien fleet through the Liberty's viewscreen as his ship closed. The distance. The enemy vessels were beautiful, he had to admit, but they moved like they were afraid to get their hands dirty. Their perfect formation told him everything he needed to know about how they fought. "Amy, lock weapons on their command ship," he ordered. "The big one in the center." "Locked on, sir." "Kinetic accelerators ready to fire." "Lisa, how are our systems holding up?" Engineer Lisa Hunt's voice came from deep in the ship. "Inertial dampeners are working perfectly, Captain. We can keep this acceleration up for hours if needed." Rick smiled. The aliens probably couldn't imagine technology that let organic crews survive such brutal forces. Human engineering had always focused on the practical rather than the pretty. "Joe, prepare nuclear torpedoes for launch. I want them ready the moment we're in range." "Nuclear birds are armed and ready, sir." Commander Joe Taylor replied from the weapons station. The Liberty's main guns began tracking the alien formation. Her targeting computers, designed by the same people who built Earth's missile defense, Systems calculated firing solutions for multiple targets simultaneously. Each alien ship was locked in her sights. Incoming transmission from the alien fleet, Amy announced. Put it through. Fleet Commander Vextar's translated voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, you are making a fatal mistake. Our weapons will destroy you in seconds. Stop your attack and surrender now. Rick activated the reply channel. Confederate ships, you came to our home and threatened our families. We don't surrender to bullies. The first alien plasma beams lanced out across space, brilliant streams of pure energy that could melt through most known materials. They struck the Liberty's hull in cascades of light and fire, and Vextar expected to see the primitive ship vaporize instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The human ship's armor didn't just absorb the energy, it exploded. Sections of the hull blew outward in controlled detonations, sending clouds of superheated metal fragments racing toward the nearest alien vessels. What just happened? Vextar shouted. Sir, their armor appears to be designed to explode when hit. They're using our own weapons against us. The metal fragments struck 2 Confederation ships, their energy shields useless against solid matter. Moving at high speed. Alarms wailed as hull breaches opened across their crystal surfaces. Rick grinned as he watched the alien ships struggle with something they'd never encountered, reactive armor working as designed. Their pretty energy beams just became our ammunition. Return fire. Vextar ordered desperately. The Liberty's main gun spoke for the first time in combat. 6 kinetic accelerators fired simultaneously, launching tungsten rods at nearly half the speed of light. The projectiles crossed the space between fleets. In less than a second, the Confederation's energy shields, designed to stop plasma beams and particle weapons, might as well have been paper. The tungsten rods punched through the barriers like they didn't exist, slamming into alien hulls with the force of small meteors. 3 Confederation ships were crippled instantly, their elegant crystal structures shattered by the impact of solid metal traveling at relativistic speeds. Emergency systems screamed as atmosphere vented into space through massive holes torn in their hulls. Impossible, Quindle gasped. Their primitive kinetic weapons just penetrated our shields. Vextar stared in horror as his perfect formation dissolved into chaos. The humans weren't fighting like civilized beings. They were fighting like animals, using crude weapons and brutal tactics that no advanced species would consider. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he ordered, but the Liberty was already launching her next surprise. Nuclear torpedoes streaked from her missile tubes, their fusion warheads glowing like tiny stars. The weapons spread out in a pattern that forced the alien ships into the path of the Liberty's guns. Sir, Zardan called out with terror in his voice, they're not trying to destroy us ship by ship. They're hurting us like prey animals. Vextar realized with growing horror that these humans didn't fight like any species his people had ever encountered. They fought like predators who had spent thousands of years learning how to kill their own kind. The galaxy's greatest military power had just met something they never expected, a species that treated war as an art form. The USS Liberty moved through space like a hunting wolf, her sensors tracking every alien ship while her weapon systems calculated new ways to destroy them. What had started as a battle was becoming something else entirely, a demonstration of how humans approached warfare when their home was threatened. Admiral Kate Morris watched the tactical display from the Liberty's bridge as nuclear explosions bloomed, like deadly flowers around the alien fleet. Each detonation forced the enemy ships into new positions, exactly where her weapons wanted them to be. Amy, status on the alien formation, she called to Lieutenant Amy Price at the tactical station. They're completely scattered, Admiral. 3 ships are dead in space. 2 more are venting atmosphere. The rest are trying to regroup, but our torpedoes keep forcing them apart. Kate nodded with satisfaction. The aliens fought like they were dancing, elegant, organized, and completely predictable. Humans fought like they were hunting prey, using every advantage they could find. "Lisa, how are our systems holding up?" Engineer Lisa Hunt's voice came from the engine room deep in the ship. "All green, Admiral. We're running at 60% capacity. The aliens haven't even scratched our main armor yet." On the alien flagship, Fleet Commander Vextar struggled to understand what was happening to his fleet. His ships had been built to fight civilized wars, long-range duels between opponents who followed the same basic rules. These humans seemed to follow no rules at all. "Sir," Intelligence Officer Quindle reported with fear in his voice, "the human vessel is using nuclear weapons as tactical tools. They're not trying to destroy us outright. They're controlling our movement." Vextar watched his tactical display in horror. The human ship had created a three-dimensional maze of radiation and debris that forced his vessels to move exactly where the humans wanted them. It was like being herded by a predator that understood exactly how prey would react. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Nuclear weapons are supposed to be crude tools of mass destruction, not precision instruments." "Sir, these humans appear to have developed nuclear warfare into an exact science. They're using different yields and detonation patterns to create specific tactical effects." The Liberty's next attack proved Quindle's point. A spread of smaller nuclear torpedoes detonated in a carefully planned sequence, creating a corridor of superheated plasma that channeled two alien ships directly into the path of the Liberty's main guns. Captain Rick Barnes smiled as he watched the enemy vessels fall into his trap. "Beautiful work, Joe. Those aliens are learning that humans don't just fight wars, we study them." Commander Joe Taylor looked up from his weapons console. "Thanks, Captain. Next spread is ready to launch. Where do you want them to go?" "See those two ships trying to flank us? Put some nukes between them and us. Force them back toward the main group." The nuclear torpedoes streaked out from the Liberty's missile tubes, their courses calculated by computers that had studied every human war for the past 1,000 years. Each weapon knew exactly where to detonate for maximum tactical effect. Fleet Commander Vextar watched in despair as his ships were pushed around like pieces on a game board. His weapons officer tried desperately to lock onto the human vessel, but the Liberty's electronic warfare systems were jamming their targeting sensors. "Sir," the weapons officer called out, "I can maintain target lock. Their jamming is unlike anything we've encountered. It's not just blocking our sensors, it's feeding us false information." Vextar realized that the humans were not just fighting his ships, they were fighting his ability to fight back. Every system his people relied on was being turned against them by an enemy that seemed to understand warfare better than anyone should. "Commander," Quindle said quietly, "I'm analyzing their attack patterns. These humans don't fight like a single ship. They fight like a weapon system. Every action supports every other action." The Liberty demonstrated this perfectly with her next maneuver. While her nuclear torpedoes kept the alien ships separated, her kinetic weapons picked off targets one by one. Each tungsten rod was aimed not just to destroy, but to create debris fields that would limit enemy movement even further. Admiral Kate Morris studied the battle with the cold calculation of someone who had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "Amy, what's the status of their command ship?" "Still operational, Admiral, but their shields are down to 30%. One more kinetic strike should finish them." "Not yet. I want them alive to see what comes next." Kate activated the ship's communication system and opened a channel to the surviving alien vessels. Her voice carried across space with the authority of someone who had just proven humanity's military superiority. "Confederation ships, this is Admiral Morris. You came to our system expecting to find helpless primitives. Instead, you found a species that has been perfecting the art of war for 10,000 years. On the alien flagship, Vextar listened to the human admiral's words with growing dread. Every weapon on this ship exists because some human figured out how to kill other humans more efficiently, Kate continued. We didn't develop our military technology to fight aliens. We developed it to fight each other. You're seeing thousands of years of human warfare compressed into a single vessel. Vextar's bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. These humans had not built their weapons to conquer other species. They had built them to fight an endless war against their own kind. What kind of species did that? Your energy shields are elegant, Kate's voice continued, but they were designed to stop energy weapons. Our kinetic guns don't care about your shields. Your formation tactics are impressive, but they assume your enemy will fight honorably. We fight to win. The Liberty's sensors swept the alien fleet like the eyes of a predator, examining wounded prey. 3 more ships had gone dark, their crews either dead or unconscious from explosive decompression. Sir, Quindle whispered to Vextar, what do we do? We cannot fight them using conventional tactics. Vextar stared at the human ship on his display. The Liberty hung in space surrounded by the wreckage of his fleet, her weapons still tracking his surviving vessels. She looked exactly like what she was, a weapon built by beings who understood violence in ways his people never could. Signal the remaining ships, he said quietly. Prepare to withdraw. For the first time in Confederation history, they were retreating from a single enemy vessel. The space around Earth had become a graveyard of alien ships. 7 Confederation vessels floated dead in the void, their crystal hulls cracked and venting atmosphere into space. The remaining 5 ships hung motionless, their crews paralyzed by the realization that they had encountered something beyond their understanding. Fleet Commander Vextar sat in his damaged command chair, staring at the human warship through his flickering view screen. The USS Liberty maintained her position like a metal predator, her weapons still locked onto his surviving vessels. The battle was over, but the real shock was just beginning. Sir, Intelligence Officer Quindle said quietly, the human ship is hailing us. Admiral Kate Morris appeared on the main screen of the alien flagship. Her face was calm, but her eyes held the hardness of someone who had just fought for her world's survival. Behind her, the Liberty's bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency, monitoring systems and maintaining their weapons lock on the alien fleet. Commander Vextar, Kate said, using his name to show that human intelligence had identified him. Your fleet entered our system without permission and threatened our world. 7 of your ships are destroyed. Your remaining vessels are crippled. You're alive because we choose to let you live. Vextar struggled to find words. In 3 centuries of conquest, no enemy had ever spoken to a Confederation commander this way. His people were supposed to be the apex military force in the galaxy. Yet a single human ship had torn apart his fleet like it was made of paper. How? He finally managed to ask. Captain Rick Barnes stepped into view beside the Admiral. His uniform was clean, and his expression was professional, as if destroying an alien fleet was just another day's work. You want to know how we beat you? Rick said. It's simple. You fight wars like they're art exhibitions. We fight wars like our children's lives depend on winning. Kate nodded toward her tactical officer. Lieutenant Price, transmit the technical data to their ship. They should understand what they faced. The information that flowed to the alien vessel told a story that chilled Vextar to his core. The Liberty was not just a warship. She was the product of a species that had never stopped fighting. Every system on the human vessel had been designed, tested, and perfected through actual combat against equally desperate opponents, your people. Build ships to look impressive, Kate explained as the data transferred. We build ships to kill other ships that are trying to kill us. Every human weapon exists because we needed it to fight other humans who were just as smart and just as determined as we are. Engineer Lisa Hunt's voice came through the communication channel from the Liberty's engine room. Commander, you're looking at 15 years of preparation. When we first detected your radio signals, we knew someone would come eventually, so we got ready. The technical specifications flowing to the alien ship revealed the true scope of human military preparation. The Liberty was just the first of 12 identical vessels. Earth's orbital shipyards were producing more every month. The planet's entire industrial capacity had been converted to military production. Quindle studied the information with growing horror. Sir, according to this data, they've turned their entire solar system into a fortress. Every planet, every moon, every asteroid belt has been militarized. Kate's image on the screen nodded. We learned something important from your radio transmissions, Commander. The galaxy is full of species that conquer others. So we made sure that conquering us would cost more than anyone would be willing to pay. The human admiral gestured toward something off-screen, and new data appeared on the alien displays. It showed defensive installations throughout the human solar system, weapons platforms around every world, hidden missile bases on distant moons, and automated defense networks that could operate without human crews. This is what happens when you threaten a species that has been fighting wars for 10,000 years, Kate said calmly. We don't just prepare for the battles we expect, we prepare for the battles we can't imagine. Vexstar realized that even if the Confederation had brought 100 ships instead of 12, the result would have been the same. The humans had not built defenses to stop an invasion. They had built defenses to make invasion suicide. Sir, Communications Specialist Zardan whispered, what do we tell the High Command? Before Vexstar could answer, Kate Morris provided the answer herself. You're going to return to your Confederation and deliver a message, she said. Humanity is not interested in joining your empire. We're not interested in being conquered. But we are interested in peaceful contact with any species that approaches us with respect. Captain Barnes smiled grimly. Tell your leaders that Earth is protected by beings who view warfare as a science to be perfected. We don't fight for glory or conquest, we fight for survival. And we're very, very good at it. The communication channel closed, leaving the alien bridge in stunned silence. Around them, their fleet hung in ruins while the human warship waited patiently for them to leave. Commander, Quindle said finally, how do we explain this to the High Command? Vexstar looked at the tactical display, showing his destroyed ships. We tell them the truth. We have encountered a species that approaches warfare like we approach art. They don't seek elegant solutions, they seek total victory through any means necessary. The surviving Confederation vessels began to withdraw from the human system, their crews struggling to process what they had experienced. Behind them, the Liberty maintained her position, watching them leave with mechanical patience. On Earth, billions of humans watched the alien fleet retreat through telescope networks and orbital cameras. They had just witnessed their species' first victory in interstellar warfare, fought by people who understood that, in the vast darkness of space, only the strong could protect the weak. Admiral Kate Morris stood on her bridge, watching the alien ships disappear into the distance. Her communications officer received a message from Earth Command. Congratulations on humanity's first successful defense against alien invasion. But Kate knew this was just the beginning. Word would spread through the galaxy that Earth was defended by something new and dangerous, a species that had perfected the art of war through necessity rather than choice. The Confederation would return someday, probably with allies and better preparation. When they did, they would find humanity ready. Because that was what humans did. They survived, they adapted, and they never stopped preparing for the next fight. The age of human isolation was over. The age of human expansion was about to begin.